Dear friend, learn how to identify that orbiting guy. This is very important, because certain measures need to be taken, otherwise you may run into problems in your current or future relationships. An orbiting guy can be an ex-boyfriend, someone you flirted with in the past, and he can also be that man who presents himself as a pure, brotherly friend, swears he has no romantic interest, and is even married. Let's break it down. I'll divide this into groups, but first, here's a practical shortcut, quick checklist. 5 signs of an orbiter. If he does 2 or more of the following often, pay attention. 1. He messages you out of nowhere, starts conversations with no real reason, just to see how you're doing. 2. He compliments you too much and repeatedly insists on kindness and favors. 3. He shows up especially when you're sad, lonely, or emotionally vulnerable. 4. He shows disguised jealousy, puts down your boyfriend, jokes about it, asks invasive questions. 5. He pushes innocent, physical closeness, long hugs, constant subtle touching, rides, one-on-one hangouts. Now, the groups. Group 1. Orbiters who don't know they're orbiting. They run on autopilot, influenced by instincts and by a need for validation that is often unconscious. That doesn't make them less harmful, it just makes the problem harder to solve, because everything stays blurry. Men also need validation, and having a female friend, especially if she's attractive, can work like a micro-emotional reward, the contact, the attention, your availability, an intimate conversation. That alone can give him a small hit of dopamine. Here's what many women underestimate. Even if he's married, has a steady girlfriend, or other relationships, he may still keep orbiting. Why? Social pre-validation. Simply being close to an attractive woman can be used as a credential in other women's eyes. If she gives me attention, I must have value. Power play in his relationship. Your presence can become a subtle card against his wife, girlfriend. If you don't want me, I have options. Emotional escape valve. He uses you as relief, an outlet, a backup source of attention. And yes, many of these things can happen without him consciously planning it. But the end result for you is the same, a man occupying emotional space around you. Group 2. Orbiters who know they're orbiting. These are the most dangerous, because they often act strategically. They're waiting for an opportunity. They fake genuine interest in your problems, pretend to be indifferent, and act happy when you say you're doing well with another man. They give nice relationship advice that makes it look like they're not interested in you. This can be deception, sometimes conscious, sometimes very practiced. While you're opening up, venting, and accepting altruistic favors, he's simply holding position and waiting for the right moment. And worse, it's common for him to orbit multiple women at the same time. That doesn't necessarily mean you're special. Maybe you are, but for many of these men, it's enough that you're a woman and you're accessible. One ugly psychological detail. Many men hate orbiters, except when they themselves are orbiting. The same guy who orbits you may resent other orbiters, but he plays the role, acts indifferent, and even approves of your other male friends. It's part of the character. And here's a truth many women don't want to consider. He may secretly want your relationship to end. Not necessarily to become your next boyfriend, but to try to downgrade you to a friends with benefits situation, if you know what I mean. Also pay attention. For a significant share of men, having many male friends, even if some are neutral, reduces the perception of exclusivity. I'm not talking only about physical exclusivity, but also emotional exclusivity. Orbiters multiply that damage, because they create the sense of an open door. When neutral friendship turns into orbiting, without you noticing, there's also the case where the friendship was genuinely neutral and slowly changes over time. You just want to be kind. You give a sincere, innocent compliment. You show extra concern about something in his life. You like one more photo. You reply faster. Even if you're convinced you have zero interest, those signals can be received very differently by him. This isn't solely his fault, or yours. Biology can trigger cues, but character and boundaries determine behavior. And that's where you need to be an adult. One single unintentional signal can become a stimulus. He responds with another signal, sometimes consciously, sometimes not. And the relationship starts functioning in a slightly altered mode, with a level of intimacy that didn't exist before. Once the distance between a man and a woman shrinks, it's hard, sometimes impossible, to return to the previous distance. Space that was taken is rarely given back, lightly and without resentment. Did you start accepting double-meaning jokes? Reversing that won't be easy or cheap. Did you start greeting him with long hugs? Did you start touching, or allowing touches in, borderline, areas, not obviously invasive but close to the line? Returning to the previous stage often creates conflict. For many orbiters, either the relationship advances into something more physical, romantic, or it stays in that permanent, almost. Going backward, to them, often equals the end of the friendship. He may pretend it's back to normal, but when it happens, the rollback is in actions, not necessarily in thoughts. But I'm single, yes, and orbiters are still different. If you're single, you're free. There's no restriction on having casual relationships with whoever you want, and a future boyfriend has no legitimate right to complain about clear, closed chapter past relationships. They started, happened, and ended. But orbiters are different. Orbiters aren't a closed past. They're an active presence, a kind of ongoing openness. A future boyfriend may have no right to judge your history, but he likely won't tolerate orbiters well, regardless of who they are. The coworker who constantly asks favors and messages, for no reason. The guy you hooked up with years ago who still likes, comments on everything. The family friend, who never actually cheated on your sister but behaves like an orbiter. The friend who offers help for everything, puts you on a pedestal, and markets himself as pure. Your future partner may pretend, and the price shows up later. Here's another uncomfortable part. Your future boyfriend, partner, or husband may pretend. It looks bad for a man to complain about his girlfriend's male friends. He can seem insecure and jealous. So he tries not to care. He forces himself to agree with something that isn't real. The outcome is usually silent. Attraction drops, emotional investment drops, internal vigilance increases, his sensitivity to anything increases. Even neutral male friends can create noise in some relationships. Orbiters, obviously, multiply it. If your future boyfriend has strict monogamous values and is faithful in a non-negotiable way, he may become less tolerant with you in many other areas, not just orbiters. Why? Because his emotional investment will be lower than it could be. Men value exclusivity, and not only physical exclusivity, emotional exclusivity too. If he isn't as committed to monogamous values, the situation can get worse. Some men follow the rules while everything feels organized, but keep hypothetical options in the back of their minds. If you hit the wrong trigger, his reaction may be disproportionate, and he may seek compensation outside, justifying it internally. And note, that openness doesn't even have to be real. You can have a clean conscience. You know that coworker has no chance with you. But he has access, he messages you randomly, compliments you too much, asks unnecessary questions, and you tolerate it because you don't want to be rude. Your boyfriend may not see it the way you see it, and his reaction may not be proportional. I'm not saying every man will do this, but it happens often enough to be a real risk. Practical examples, so you see the pattern. You accept an innocent, little gift from a friend, and your boyfriend logs it as an open door. You give or accept rides, and he says nothing, but he registers it. You get that weird call from an old friend saying he dreamed about you, just wanted to see how you are, and your boyfriend pretends it's fine, but the discomfort stays. These things stack up, and your future marriage can be harmed by a friend from the present that you insisted on keeping close without boundaries. What to do? Important measures. No drama. Friendship between men and women exists, it's possible. But it rarely comes at zero cost. If you want to protect your relationships, 1. Cut easy access. Fewer messages, less availability, less intimacy. 2. Ban the gray zone. No double meanings, no touching, no frequent rides, no one-on-one meetups, for no reason. 3. Standard phrase, polite and firm. I prefer to keep our friendship a bit more distant and respectful. I'm prioritizing my love life. 4. If he insists, disappears and comes back, or guilt trips you, it's not friendship, it's orbiting. You don't have to be rude. But you do have to be clear. Because if you don't set boundaries, someone will set them for you, and usually in the most painful way. Friendship between men and women is possible. It's just not innocent by default. And ignoring orbiters tends to be costly.